And here we are. Hello, everybody. Okay, so all of you know my whole never give up mentality, right? And what that is, how important that is for me, of how people think, their thoughts, what you put out in the universe, you get. The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So today I am truly excited. And there's an extensive bio, and I can't do the whole thing, but I'm going to give you some basics. I had the honor of listening to this gentleman through someone else's podcast, and I was so intrigued and taken aback by some of the things that he was saying. And I then had a conversation with him, and I said, please, will you do me the honors of coming and doing a live on Talk Time with Dr. C? And he was like, absolutely, let's do it. And so I'm so happy to have him here today. And so if you have a pen and paper, please get it out. Dr. Paul Dyer is with us today. He is the CEO of Whole Life Training. He has a podcast called Bridges Live. He is the United States Executive Director for the Federal Association and Advancement of Visible Minorities. He's the father of 9. He's a grandfather. He's a veteran. He has several self-help books out. His educational background is extensive. And I mean, I could just go on, but I don't want to, because I really cherish this time right now that we're about to have with him. So Dr. Dyer, thank you, first of all, for being with me today and for doing this. I so appreciate it. I feel really blessed and honored to have you on my show. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. C. Thank you for having me. How's the weather out there where you are from where I'm at?
So we were going to do a podcast today about...
How's your weather?
It's Washington.
It's wet.
Yeah, it's wet. and it's depressing. And so I always, jump past that question when people say, hey, what's the weather like up there? So anyways, it's depressing. And the sun is actually shining today. Oh, you can see here just a little bit. The sun is actually shining. I don't know how long it'll last. But you used to live here.
Yeah, I've trained in out there. So I've been in and out of the Washington State area because of the the special military base out there. So I love the mountains. I love the area. But then again, I love all areas. When we talk about, as we get into the emotions and science and stuff, we tend to drag our emotions around like a heavy weight. Like, oh no, it's raining. Oh no, I'm in Washington State. Oh no, I'm in Hawaii. I mean, people do that I've been to a lot of places around the globe, and I can't think of how often you hear, no matter where you are, what someone dislikes about it.
Yeah, it's that way in life. I guess if we wanted to, we could live in Florida with warm waters, sunshine beaches. But trust me, you'll find something.
Yep, and people do. People do. People say, oh, it's so hot, so humid, I'm not going out. It's so hot out there, I can't, this is ridiculous. And I always say, move. And they'll tell me, no, I love it here. Well, then why are you complaining? But that's the battle. And it seems so simple. And I ask about the weather because I generally want to know about the weather. Or I generally want to know how you are. And how are you, by the way?
You know what? Any day for me above the dirt is a blessing. And I mean that with all honesty, because you know my story.
Right.
And anytime you're given 6 months to live and you've extended that, every day is a blessing. And that's how I see it, and I appreciate it. I mean, I could be living in a box. Mm-hmm. I would still be grateful that I just have the breath to know that, well, I can get out of the box. Well, I can get a bigger box.
Right.
And so there's always opportunity.
And, me studying neuroscience, and I love neuroscience. I have my master's certifications in neuroscience, neuroanatomy, applied psychology. That breath and then being a grandmaster in martial arts and studying the holistic arts and studying life, the generating of life comes through the first sound, right? When God created everything, it was sound, right? That is vibration. And people have heard it, people have read it, people have hear someone talk about vibration. People may talk about fractals and how the sound generates different forms in our body with cellular. Well, I teach everything from the external to the internal and how you understand it and how it is affecting your organs and your cellular self, epidemiology, RNA, DNA. So those are factors. And what we think and our thoughts and how it generates the sound that reverberates in our bodies. Those are key factors. So things we may say it's just, I'm talking about the weather, oh, it's raining. Well, even in the tone, I don't know if I can even say it happy enough for me to get a good thing out of it, like, oh, it's raining. And now, because your body knows the truth. Your internal life knows your truth. The only person that doesn't know your truth is you. And we get in our way so much because we don't know our truths. We don't know the balance of the universe, the balance of what God has created for us. And we don't know what the universe has planned for us, right? So we don't know our truth, and ego gets in our way, and that changes the vibration and the sound we take internally.
So it really is about vibration. You hear often people talk about vibration and the electricity, because when we think about electricity of the heart, right, that keeps the body. Without that, the body will not function. You cannot get blood supply to the body if there's no electrical current running through the heart to pump the arteries, right, and make that happen. So it is a vibration, and it is about being on rhythm. I've often had doctors ask me, why do you think you're here and others aren't, or others didn't make it through? I don't have the answer to that. If I did, I'd be able to cure cancer probably. But I really think that the mindset is the onset to all things achieved. And where the mind goes, the body will follow.
Absolutely.
So the brain is really like our computers that we have, the CPU system.
Well, it's a receiver transmitter. So everything comes from in here, right? The top of our crown, all the way down to the bottom of our feet, and that's where we were grounding. Actually, if you ever want to get into what you call grounding techniques, you take off your shoes, get into that earth, and just breathe and re-ground yourself into the connection between the heaven and the earth, as above, so below. I mean, there's all these things that people have heard about and never really truly understood of the living sciences. You know, I call it the living sciences because we've been calling it the living sciences for thousands of years. It's not this type of medicine. It's not this type. It's really the wholeness of the universe and in life, and we're part of it. And knowing our parts, right? Knowing our part and knowing the part, there are difference. And people try to know the part, which you can play any part, but if you know your part, that is your truth. Again, going back to who are you, where are you, and what are you cultivating and developing for you? Because my mother told me a truth. My father told me a truth. The environment tells me a truth. The doctors tries to tell me their truths. What are you telling your truth? What is it that you're telling yourself? Because my mother had cancer. That's how I got into naturopathic medicine. I mean, that's literally probably why I'm here doing the things I do now, is because I saw my mother when they told her, just like you, they told her she had a year to live. And what changed her life is that she ended up going away to a camp and living and going into natural foods, what she ate, how she prayed, how she meditated. All these things are functional, right? They're all pieces of all of it, right? It's not just change your food, change your life. It can, but it's change your food, change your thoughts. it changes your life. Change your food, change your thoughts, change your physical, changes your life. So these things play a part in this wheel that we keep turning.
So, and one thing I say to people often is I would never say I have cancer.
Right.
Because I think when people say I have cancer, like they own it, like it's yours.
It's
like,
not mine.
Hey, that's mine. I have that. You have a couch,
right,
or you have a car, or you have a house, but you don't have cancer. You can say I'm battling cancer, I'm fighting cancer, whatever. But people often say I have cancer. I never did that, and I still don't. I now obviously it's and I always say people who have cancer or who battle and fight cancer, that it's more like whatever the mind is saying, and we know that the word and I talk about this dis-ease.
Mm-hmm.
I am a firm and number one believer in stress is truly what kills you. People can say, well, we have a family history of cancer. Okay, well, great.
You have genetic markers. You have genetic markers. You don't have a family history. That is...
Yeah. There was no history in my family. Done. Zero. Okay. Nowhere. And at 38, I already had my second one. And so it's crazy how you hear these misconceptions of things and how people go about it then. And I didn't take that same route. And so I think it really has to do with mindset is the onset of all things achieved. And how a man thinks in his brain is how his body is going to react.
But it is, all of it that is very true. But here's the conundrum I know people have. What about racial tensions in the universe or our planet? What about segregation issues where it becomes men and women? What about these inequality issues that are happening that are systemic through our life? I don't own that, but yet it's still around me, right? So, but still, you can ask yourself, who are you in that environment? And what are you going to do in that environment? And how are you doing it in that environment? So if you change your mind, you may not change the environment, but now you can change the action of yourself. I am brewing up this negativity. When that person or persons comes to the car, I'm going to respond in not so good a way that could get me shot, right? It could. So we try to alleviate as much as possible of getting home every day while driving, but you have to understand, where is your emotions taking you? Throughout history, emotions has driven crosses on your lawns, world wars, all through because of what we think we should be doing. For who? For what emotion drove that? Humanity is built on a lot of negativity and not positivity. Like, we need to stop this. If we don't do this, if we don't do this as an Americans, then they will do that. That's a negative action. Could you imagine always going home to your spouse, your loved one, your kids going, man, I better stop my kid from doing this, so I'm going to do this. Well, you don't even know if your kid's going to do that. So you're already putting it out there that it's a negative, that you're thinking that it's going to be a negative. And
a lot is learned behavior, is it not?
It is conditioning.
It's learned behavior. And I remember when I was in Germany, AFN used to come on, and they had a commercial.
Armed Forces Network.
Yes, and they had a commercial, and the commercial was of these two flowers, each of them individually in a pot, and you would see this water bucket pouring over each flower, and one said 100% pure water, and the other one said 100% pure prejudice. And they poured this over these flowers, and you seen the one of the pure prejudice, just whittle away. It just dissolved and died. And the other one just grew, 100%. And it really is, I think, a lot of learned behavior, because if you watch babies.
Yes.
They have no clue. They will sit and play and love each other and just have a grand time. and it's okay.
The one thing we can learn about babies too is that, so there's breathing exercises. I know about 60 hard techniques, meaning very diligently practice about 60 techniques of breathing. And there's more different types of breathing. But just one type of breathing, what we call relaxation breathing. It's called body breathing, right? We know it's in through the nose and out through the mouth. We know our belly expands as we breathe in, and as we blow out, the belly contracts. That's regular abdominal body breathing. Babies do that naturally. The only way their breathing actually changes is when they start to get older and we start putting in our environment surroundings. Then their breath is not as long. Their breath becomes very shallow and short. And so the environment starts constricting our own breathing. That's why when you go into meditation and prayer, there are breathing techniques to open your crown up to receive and transmit, right? That's all we are, is receivers and transmitters. Just our heart vibration it travels 16 feet in a circumference around us. Our heart travels 16 feet vibrationally around us in a circumference. So you actually meet someone by heart because they're 16 feet and you're 16 feet. By the time they even come near you for a hug or a shake or anything, your heart has already connected with their vibrational signal.
That's amazing. And I know that often couples, you'll find their breathing is a lot the same. If you just when they're sleeping, if you listen, you actually breathe the same, and it's crazy. You take in the breath at the same time, you let it out at the same time, because they truly have connected like that. So let's talk about, what is it that you think, a lot of people that are trying to get forward in life, be it financially, educationally, in their careers, what have you, what is it that truly, I think the answer probably is themselves.
No, it isn't. Here, but finish your question. It isn't just themselves.
So, because isn't it here in the brain? If you self-sabotage, right?
Yeah, but here's the thing. And do we know, is it possible for the seer to also be the observer?
That's good.
So, and that's how slow we have to understand, what are we seeing ourselves be, do, are, and are we observing that also? Now, you think about it, that takes a little bit of time to being able to be the observer. So you actually looking at yourself, be who you are at all moments. Because if you're not the observer, then I don't see how you would understand your self-sabotaging. So is it yourself? Yes. But if you don't know, how do you know you self-sabotage? You won't know until a result.
Until you sabotaged.
Right. You don't, it's like you won't know until the result. It's actually, it's like when the police officer pulls you over. Do you know how fast you were going? You know how many people say no? Because they're in their car, they're cruising, they're doing their little thing, and they're like, I didn't even really truly recognize I was going X miles an hour. And I'm not talking about on the highway. I think on the highway people know, but I'm talking about on the side streets. Those are very easily, when they're 35, 25, we're cruising pretty good if it's whatever, and we don't know how fast we're going because we are not observing the speed. We are too much into the drive. So we're not observing what we're doing. Because if we were...
Can I ask you something?
Absolutely. So this is your show. You can ask me if you want.
Oh, thank you. And I love it. The show is for everybody else, but I feel like it's really, I'm being selfish today because I'm like, no, I'm asking all the questions that I want the answers to. So have you ever, because I know I have many times, been in the car, because you brought up driving, been in the car driving, and you've gone from A to be, and you've asked yourself, oh my geez, I don't even remember driving. It's like you completely were somewhere else, but it just kind of, you took yourself there.
So I do know people have done that. I have not done that. And here's and I don't remember even if I did do it so long ago. I've been practicing Buddhist now and a strong Buddhist now for over 30 years. So my dedication to the practice of the living life, it comes after prior to wanting to take my life, after PTSD and suffering from all these other traumas that I had in my own personal life, healing myself, So there's a lot of times I ask myself as an observer, I'm like, I wonder if I ever did that. Because I see things that people do, because now I'm a feeler and I observe and I absorb. Now, if you're not good at releasing that, it could get you sick. So I do absorb and see things, meaning it's different than an empath, but because I'm constantly in this breath action of evolution and practice as resolution, I am cleaning and absorbing. So when I'm near someone, I can feel their pain. It's different than an empath because I know it's theirs and I know it's not mine. An empath will feel something and not know where it's coming from unless you worked on your craft. But I can actually feel people because of their vibration and what their body's saying. Not so much what their words are saying, what their body's saying. So that's different.
Yeah, that language. Yeah, you can often read people, their bodies, if they're withdrawn or closed off. So when we talk about the brain and all of these things that are happening that create our lifestyles, right? Are we the seer and the observer? Right. It's that was good. That actually remember that old song, Things That Make You Go,
Yeah.
that was a moment for me because I'm like, oh yeah, because when you think about self-sabotaging in the brain, I've heard people say, I've heard therapists say, psychiatrists, what have you, that when you grow up and let's say a parent is telling you, you're never going to amount to anything, you're never going to be anything, oh, you're just like your dad, oh, you're just like your mom, that mindset, when that's put into a young child, is that stored somewhere that they always then reflect back to that? And could it be that if they made themselves great, now I would make my mom wrong or my dad wrong or my grandparents wrong? And so in order not to make them wrong, I'll have to be the person that doesn't amount to anything.
I understand where you're going, and here's the thing, and I don't want to get too science on people because I'll turn into the Black Sheldon like that.
No, do please. I love medicine. Please do.
So you have the frontal lobe, you have the amygdala, you have the different brain stem, which regulates a lot of your thinking and controlling your breath. You have your different hemispheres between the left and the right, and then you have your central nervous system. So you have these components that do certain things, right? And in those things, they are actually doing their job. And in that job is recording and sending it, and that's what it comes down to, sending it down to your body, right? Mm-hmm. So to keep it very simple, if you're frontal lobe thinking, that means you're absorbing things in your frontal lobe. That means you're understanding and comprehending. I'll say that different. People think that understanding is comprehension. It's not. Understanding is knowing what comes in. Comprehension is living what comes in. So, like, you can hear a word and I understand the meaning of the word, but do you know how to use the word? So that's what comprehension is. So,
what's it, for instance?
So, I watch baseball. I watch the Mariners. I think they're a good team because that's what I'm. That's what I'm That's what I'm understanding.
I already want to say, oops, they won.
That's what I'm understanding. But comprehension, they're not a good team. So it's what you're getting and what you are knowing how to use it almost. So that's the difference.
And so when we're putting that into a child's head, will they later in life reflect back to that?
They don't reflect back to it. It just gets triggered. And that's where the subconscious and the conscious has a play on it. Now, it is said that if you can teach whatever all what a person learns is up to the 8 years of age, and that is 80% of what they are used for the rest of their life. So anything after the age of 8, it's pretty much you're just regurgitating all the stuff you learned from 0 to 8. Unless you intentionally change and reformat, like a computer chip, using the word like a computer chip, you reformat, and that's where it comes into cultivating and development. That's different. So if you know that I get sick or I have a phobia, and I'm not saying you want to change your phobia, but it's a choice if you know why you have the phobia. Most people don't even know why they have phobias. They'll just say, I just don't like that. Yeah, but do you know why? No, I've never have. Well, that's not true. You didn't come out of the womb not liking spiders or whatever the phobia is. Like, something happened, and if you're okay with that, then you actually move that understanding to comprehension, which then moves into what you call consciousness. Now it's not in your subconsciousness just triggering your behavior. And that's why I teach the emotional reaction training. Understanding why you behave that way. It doesn't bother me if you want to change it or not, but I can help you understand if you understand it and why it's triggering your reactions. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because I have quite a few of them.
Most people have a lot of them that they don't even know they have, and they're just going off a repeat. It's like person saying, I don't like peas, or I don't like blondes, or I don't like that. I mean, when you start to use the words, I'm not too comfortable with that. Ask yourself, wow, well, why is that? Where did that come from? Who taught me that? Did I teach myself that? Did I purposely say, I just don't like this? And
fears like fear of heights, all of those things fall into that category?
Yes. All of it.
So they're all the same.
They're all the same.
So it doesn't matter if it's a physical, like spider would be physical thing that you actually can see, it crawls, it moves.
Right.
The fear of heights, which is an action more, that I'm going to fall or, is different. But those all are stimulated from the same place?
Yes. And if you don't understand it, then the subconscious is the one that's working. And that's the one that's running your life. You remember, your subconscious is like an overbearing parent. It just keeps wanting to dictate. And I do split up the difference between the mind and the brain. The brain is the science part of it. The mind is the euphoric, spiritual, soulful part of it, and it's just trying to guide you through. The brain, it just fires. It receives and transmit, receives and transmit. But the mind is like, someone I know, say I'm afraid of water, and I don't know how to swim. And my mind already sees a friend of mine who I heard just bought a boat. So my mind's already piecing together how I'm going to get out of him inviting me to the boat, because I don't want to be excluded. So I'll come up with a valid reason why I can't go on his boat. So as he comes over here, I say, hey, Chuck, how you doing? He says, hey, what's going on? And he's like, well, I'm about ready to do something this weekend. What's up with you? Well, I was going to invite you on the boat. See, the mind's already planned this out because he already pieced together He remembers what he had heard that someone said that Chuck bought a boat. He's going to invite people out this weekend. My mind's already recalibrate the answer, and it's living it for me. If I don't understand that it's doing that, then who's running who?
Yeah. So since we've brought up the subconscious, let's talk about that, because it really is, in my personal opinion, what really runs our life.
It does. If you don't know it.
Yeah. And so let's talk about that. How can that be re-taught or unlearned, or how can we take the subconscious and make it so it is powerful to teach us to be better
So it's
people?
part of your conscious. This is where prayer is different than meditation. Conscious training is different than prayer and meditation. There's different types of meditation throughout all of mindfulness, and being hearing that word just drives me, it's like nails on a chalkboard, because people...
What, mindfulness?
Yeah, because people use it not how it's how it was intended through Buddhist teaching. It means single mind, right? It means single mind of openness, right?
And single-minded, if we think back to, I remember my grandfather using that word, talking to some of the grandkids, of course, not me.
No, not you.
But he would say, "You single-minded fool," because single-minded means that when I hear that word, the brain is so amazing. Yes, when we talk about the frontal lobe, where the personality and, all the things that are there are many parts of the brain and the mind. So to be single-minded means that you're not operating on all four wheels, right?
No, it just means that whatever you're doing is in that moment, purposely, intentionally, actionary, and it's all lined with one. We all agree with all the information, all the left brain, right brain, frontal lobe, the amygdala, the whole bit, right? The cerebellum, everything is in alignment with the action.
The action.
And the simplest thing we do that with, and this is very easy, and I know this is not the Dr. Ruth show. Most people don't know who Dr. Ruth is, and that's okay. That's your fault.
I do. I know.
But when you...
I'd like to start a show just like hers, actually.
But when you're with your partner and you are in love and you're making love, everything generally is all aligned. Your brain is firing all together with your emotions, with the physical, with the spirituality, with all of it. That's why you're able to have that moment with your special partner. Now, we could do that painting. We can do that walking on the beach. We can do that at our jobs, where we are all together, all hemispheres, not the subconscious. I don't make love to my spouse subconsciously. I'm actually in the moment of the now of the conscious. So we could do that.
So it really, if you're experiencing joy and pleasure and fulfillment, then that's when that happens, right?
Yeah. That's the easiest part to truly understand that. Most people disregard that if they're taking a train. They're like, well, why I don't want to... But all the actions you do, no matter how you do it, pressing the elevator, stop thinking about where you're going to go. Think about the pressing of the elevator button. Stop thinking about, I got to get off the 5th floor, and then I got to go knock on the door. And, we're so far ahead of ourselves, and that's why you hear the terms live in the moment, be in the moment. That's where that comes in. That's where consciousness comes in. Because if you're able to do that, then your subconscious can't run your life.
So it's bringing that to the forefront. Really, that's what it is. Because the subconscious, to me, when I think about it, I think about like an actor going on stage at theater. So when you're standing behind the curtain, you are the true person, the whatever. Right. As soon as they pull the curtain and you step out on the stage, you've now become... Yeah. but the real person was the one that was just behind the curtain.
That's
as soon
right.
as the curtain rises, and so it really is that analogy of you're still that person.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you're acting right now.
Shakespeare, right? We're all the world's a stage, and we're all just mere players.
Well, there it is.
Right?
Yeah, and it's fascinating because you do have, and to hear people say, "Well, I don't know, I don't have any luck in life," or whatever the excuse is of why they're not advancing, why they're not coming forward, or why they can't do it. We all have, I remember my mom used to say, an excuse is like a man with a paper butthole. He has an excuse not to wipe. And I always thought that was disgusting, but
makes sense.
It makes sense, because if you want an excuse, you'll find one.
Because
there's one.
Because as your mind starts to do something, it tells the brain what to fire. See, that's the difference. Your brain is going to wait for the command to do. And your mind will tell the brain it's time to fire. Okay, so let's go back to me being a black man in America, right? So I'm walking down the street and I see someone that appears to be against black people for some reason, where they're holding up a sign and everything. My mind is going to tell my brain to fire different neurotransmitters to get into combat defense mode. So there's definitely physiological changes that happens to the body. The nose flares, the eyes gets dilated, the ears pull back. My mind's already saying, get ready for combat. And the body and the organs, blood starts to pump a little bit more, right? To the muscles, because we're getting ready. Whether we fight or not, the body is all ready for battle. Now we go.
And if anybody that's been in a fight or been, in a confrontation, I'll say, knows that you have palpitations, the hands sweat, all of a sudden you feel an adrenaline rush. And that is because what we talk about, fight or flight, right? Either I'm going to have to haul butt really quick to get to safety, or I'm going to have to put gloves on.
Right.
But irregardless, it's one of those two adrenaline-causing actions.
Right, and then
that's getting ready.
So there's dopamine getting kicked off. There's serotonin's getting kicked off. There's all these things. Adrenaline's raging off the roof. My nervous system is firing and shutting down different parts of the body. It's amazing. The body's amazing. But all this is from what the mind believes it should do for you, because somewhere along your life, you were either beaten up, taken advantage of, and you're not going to do it anymore, and you're going to be prepared now. And here it is.
Very interesting, very interesting. So I just think this is all so amazing what you teach and the concepts. And, I was telling you before we started the show that Facebook won't allow me to see comments, and I don't know if anyone is posting questions, because I would love to see those, but somehow they're like, you know what? This is so powerful. Just stay focused.
If people have questions, and here's the thing, if they comment on your page or my page or whatever page, we'll answer them. We'll direct inbox you or something like that. And here's the thing, through my sessions that I teach and who I counsel, I don't call it counsel. I always call it teaching, right? Because I'm never going to tell you what's better. I don't even do my martial arts teachers that. My students.
Yeah.
I will give you the science of what's going on, because I believe if you understand, if you have the information, you have the understanding, now you have a choice. Because I think people are living life without a true choice because they haven't met their truth. And their truth is the observer watching the seer, right? So until you slow yourself down and ask yourself the question, man, I enjoy that. Why did I enjoy that? How come I enjoy that? Did I just enjoy it? Did something trigger something joyful in the picture? Did something remind me of something joyful? Because we touch life through a lot of our five senses that we believe that we have. Our eyes and ears, but we actually touch life through vibration signals, not just with our five senses. And that's something we've never been taught. We've never been explained. So we have this painful traumas that we keep, that we don't know how to get rid of, and we keep thinking we got to overcome them. I dislike that word. I dislike the use of that word. Even working with addicts or people who had addictions, I never say you're recovering. I say you're healing. Because again, I don't want you to own it. Recovering, that means you're staying an addict. You just haven't done it yet.
It's like having cancer.
Yeah, it's like having cancer.
Like it's yours. I have a car. I have cancer.
Yeah.
You own that versus battling or fighting it. Because that means that you're refusing to allow it to harm you. So this is so interesting. I am just in awe over. I mean, I could talk for hours and hours, and it doesn't matter to me. I have all day. This is what I do.
Yeah, this is what I do. This is what I do. But if people want to learn more, just inbox me, or you can email me at Dr. Dyer, all one word, Dr. Paul W. Dyer at gmail.com, and then ask your question. We'll go from there. Sessions are different because it's different for different people. Again, I want to tell people, learn who you are and then learn to develop what you are, right? Because what you are right now could be something that someone told.
Yeah. Exactly.
Someone directed you to be what you are now. I've met so many people that I helped that I said, well, why are you doing this type of job? Because I'm good at it. Well, do you like it? But I'm really good at it. Yeah, but do you like it? You know how much money I've made at this job? I've done so well. Yeah, I get it. Do you like it? Not really. And I'm like, so why do you do it? Because they told me I was really good at it. Like, wow. How many other things are you doing because someone told you that was what it should be done or could be done? Because if that's...
Yeah, that's, and... Again, when all of this happened with me, being fired from 2 jobs, I realized, hey, because my joy and my love was medicine. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I mean, I went through my classes, past Dean's List, President's List, and because it was easy. I was hungry for it. I wanted to learn. It didn't take a lot. But when I got sick and I got fired from the hospital in the city, I'm like, wait, what? What's happening? And I stopped and I paused and I thought, well, perhaps that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. And I went down a whole nother path. And sometimes I think people don't pause and give themselves time to reflect and say, okay, this has happened twice. Then maybe that's not where I'm supposed to be. Maybe I should look at what is it that I love to do, that I enjoy, that brings me joy. And for me, listening to my granny tell me, well, if you could talk somewhere, they'd pay you $1 million, I'm sure. Well, all you do is talk. So I thought, now, if I could combine talking and music.
That's right. Sound.
They call those DJs, but
they do.
I'm not sure that's particularly what but I love music. There's something, music is just like the core of me. It's part of everything I do.
Now our cells naturally they vibrate. That's what they do. They vibrate at a certain hertz. Different parts of the body, liver cells, spleen, stomach cells, they all vibrate at a different hertz. When we get sick, or there's a sick cell around, the sick cell doesn't vibrate so vigorously. Kind of mopes along. What it wants to do is attract other cells because it too wants to vibrate vigorously. But depending on how your body and mind is creating the environment, because if you create a healthy environment, then the healthy cells vibrate constantly all the time. If you create an unhealthy environment, like taking the plant out of a window and putting it in a closet, mentally, thought-provoking, the plant's going to slow itself down because it can't create photosynthesis, right? Well, that's when the sick cell go, hey, join me. I'm vibrating at the same thing. So the cells move over there, and all of a sudden, it's vibrating, thought it was vigorous, and all of a sudden, it takes on the genetic form of the sick cell. So now the sick cell has a buddy. Score, says sick cell. And all of a sudden, as it gets more cells, it will attract more cells. This is why our white blood cell count goes up, because the white blood cells, when it comes out all fresh and new with blood, it's vibrating all amazingly, and then the sick cells are going, hey, party with us. We have the kegger.
And then cancer cells are like that.
Yes, they are.
And people don't even realize every human has cancer cells in them.
Yes.
It's just because people will say, well, we don't have a family history of breast cancer or prostate cancer or whatever. Cancer cells are floating around all the time.
Yeah.
It's just where they happen to plant themselves when the other one's attached to them, and then they start to have the party, and the keg comes out, and everybody's
like, oh, right.
And then all of a sudden the other ones see them, and they're like, hey, there's a party over there, let's go join it. And now you have cancer that has developed in your breast or the prostate or wherever it seemed to lodge itself. And it's a misconception and a misunderstanding, I think, that people have of, family history. Well, my dad had, whatever, or my grandmother. No, seriously, it really is dis-ease. If we take those two words and put them together, it is dis-ease in the body. That's why the word is called dis-ease. And it will create its own catastrophe and disaster in your body. And so music, laughter, all those things that create the good vibes are what we need to.
One of the things when I talk to people who are just endowed believers of Christ, right? They just complete faith believers, and they give their lives, right? Because we just had Easter Sunday, right?
Yes.
So why, when they say God can heal you, that's because it takes you out of your ego and who's running your life. If you think you're that important, then go ahead, see if you can heal yourself. But if you give your life to your Savior, right? That means you trust. That means you take the sickness out of your mind. That's where it starts. If you take that sickness out of your mind, you will be healed. Give yourself the environment, because you'll change the things you are doing to create sickness. Eating bad stuff, not exercising, not using negative words in your tone, right? You start to...
The tone makes the music.
Right. You start to speak to life, not just reject life. You know what? So someone asked me once. They said, "So, Dr. Paul, do you agree to everything?" Agreeing doesn't mean it's a negative. So someone says, "Hey, would you like to go fly a kite?" I would love to. I'm not able to today. That's not negative. You know what's negative? Hey, Dr. Paul, you want to go fly a kite? No, I don't feel like it. So two different ways. What if I really did have something, the no's negative, maybe next time. Negative, no intention. No, maybe next time. There's nothing you could do with that. There's negative, no intention. I say, I could say, thank you, not at this time. I'm unavailable. Because it's given me an option of possibilities.
Yeah.
There's a complete way of just, so it doesn't always have to be negative with no intention. no, maybe, sometimes, I don't know. What does that mean? Your body is confused. Your cells are like, what did he just say? Are we eating? Are we not eating? Do we get ready for digestion? Should we digest? Should we break down the proteins and the fats and the carbohydrates? I don't know. I don't know. He's so confusing. Wait a minute. He's watching ER. This is great.
When my kids were little, I had a poster that I made on a piece of cardboard. And on that poster, it said, I will not use the word can't. They weren't, for me, it was like a curse word in the house. If you said it, and so people would say, well, what does that mean? And I'd say, well, if they say, Mommy, I can't tie my shoe. No, well, stop.
Right.
You're having difficulty right now. You don't remember the process, but you can tie your shoe, and you will eventually. So don't say, I can't.
Because I removed it. I know exactly, because I removed it from my kids' family, their mouths, right?
Yeah.
And they were. You can say I'm not able to at this time,
right?
Or I just don't want to. Either one, those are acceptable, right?
And honesty plays a role too. Sometimes it's not even negativity. It's about the person being on. It's like, what is your truth?
Right.
Are you speaking your truth, or are you making an excuse? And now it sounds negative because you don't want to, but it sounds. Mm-hmm. And my husband had a buddy. He used to always say, "Sounds good in theory." He used to always say, it was always his comment to everything. Oh, sounds good in theory, but it really is about saying, like you said, I choose not to right now. It's not that I can't or I don't want to. It's just at this particular moment,
I'm unable to.
So you're being truthful, and the body knows. Mm-hmm. I think the more a person lies, the more they become a liar, because the body gets so used to not telling truth.
Well, the body has what you call mirror cells. So Again, I'm not going to try to get too scientifically, but mirror cells are exactly what they are. They do not know the difference of you speaking externally to you speaking internally.
That's right.
So whether you ask me, do I want pie, cake, whatever, I can tell you no, but my body hears no. It doesn't know what I'm speaking no to. It has, the internal has no vision, so your eyes don't report back to your cells. The eyes only report back to the signals in the brain, and the brain transfers the no. So it doesn't send a message like, no, he's talking to cake, not, it doesn't do that. It just says no all the way down through the body. But the brain, right, is computing. He's talking to cake, and you don't really want cake, and it's trying to make all these deductions and reasonings, left brain, right brain hemispheres, right? But it triggers the nervous system, the hypothalamus. It triggers all these different things and these emotions and memories of why I said no. Did he say no to cake because he grew up with cake? Or is it the type of cake his mother used to make, and he's missing his mom, he doesn't want to feel sad, so he doesn't want to eat the cake?
Amazing, yeah. We talk about, and because you brought up food, you will hear people say you eat with your eyes first. Mm-hmm. People make decisions and opinions. You can look at something and say, oh man, that steak and baked potato looks good. But if you took that same steak and baked potato and smashed it all together, it's the same steak and baked potato with all the same ingredients. Nothing's changed. It's still the same stuff.
What if the steak...
But it looks different. So it's the mind has already said, I don't want to eat. Ugh, what is that?
Well, let's bring it to this way. What if my stepfather, who used to beat me, his favorite dish was steak and potatoes? I don't think I would ever grow up eating steak and potatoes, because it would remind me of my stepfather who used to beat me, who I didn't like. So I'll never eat steak and potatoes ever again, because it would
Yeah, my kids say that about Brussels sprouts. I tried to force them to eat Brussels sprouts when they were little. And it wasn't until they got older that they said, Mom, I know you thought we ate them, but we was actually handing them to the dog under the table, under our chairs. And so now they won't eat Brussels sprouts. But now one of my kids has gone, you know what? I actually tried them recently, and they were really good. And I said, what? All these years I've been trying to tell you they're really good. But they just looked at them when they were little, and they had a bitter kind of, maybe that was just a bad day for the Brussels sprouts, the flavor didn't pop like it. But now, as adults, they're willing to try things.
That's because they are developing themselves on their own personal level. They're cultivating their likes, their dislikes. That is what you call cultivation and development. Once you make a decision of who you want to be, who you are, instead of being dictated to, and it goes back to that what we were talking about subconsciously. Who was driving?
Are you saying I was a dictator to my children?
No, but you were giving them what you wanted for them.
Yeah.
And as a child, they were accepting what you were giving them, but as an adults, now they can make their choice.
Yes.
And that's with everything. People can learn how to make their choice. In many cultures and religions throughout the world, you go through a phase where you become now man, right? Or now an adult. Now you can make your choice. We do it with baptism, right? We do it with bar mitzvahs for the Jewish community. We do it African different sects in Africa when they go through the ceremonies. Indian cultures go through the ceremonies. Where now you're able to make your choice.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. And I'm not sure where I was in that part of my life, but at a very young age, I already understood that I wanted my children to be able to make their choices. I did not baptize my children because I didn't know what life was going to bring them, what religion they would decide they wanted to be under. Nor did I make any decisions when they were babies, especially the boys, for what their bodies should go through at birth based on a religion, because it could change. And then, you've done something to your child in that religion you shouldn't have done. And so, but anyways, it's a beautiful thing to think about the brain, how it operates, how it works. And I look at all the religions, Muslim, Buddhist, the list goes on and on, right? Catholic, Christianity, and the whole Baptist, and who's shouting in the church, and who's speaking in tongues, and who's, there's so many different, but the one thing they all have in common, all of them, is really about love, joy, positivity. You hear kindness, goodness,
forgiveness,
willing to help others, all of them. And they all talk about the thoughts as a man thinketh, right? Buddha is that's really a big thing. And Buddha is the thoughts, and the monks, how they hum, right? And they do that vibrational, to stimulate that part of their body and their brain.
To create atonement.
Yes. And so really we are one. I love to think about Kevin Bacon and the 6 degrees of separation. We are one. And thinking Easter just passed, and I was watching yesterday or the day before, from early in the morning till late at night, the Bible. It started with Genesis, and it's just a movie that continues all the way through. And I remember thinking, because I've said this to a lot of people, Jesus was the best networker that there ever was. He told 12 people one message. And he really was, if you think about it, a Tony Robbins.
He's original Tony Robbins.
I know. That's what he would say. your thoughts and your
Yeah.
the messages that are in the Bible are truly inspirational, positivity, motivational, healing, and thought processes.
I mean, you think about like Passover is just finishing up, had just finished up, and that was, joy coming out of slavery, right? So you could take that into your life. Have you enslaved yourself, right? And Ramadan's coming up for the Muslims. That's another prayer and fasting, right? Again, clearing that way. And Easter was just here, and Good Friday. So we have, and that has a lot to do with the Earth's rotation in April, but that's a whole other story and a whole other show. And how the strength of the moon.
I'll have to schedule that this afternoon.
But knowing that you have the ability to change. If you could take anything from this show, you have the ability to change and to live. That's it. Live. And that is, if we could help you live. I mean, I can't shop for you, buy for you, make you a millionaire, but if I could help you understand what your brain is doing to you and your body because you have no understanding of it, and I can give you that understanding, then you have a choice. Mm-hmm. If you want to choose this type of, that's your choice, but know how it's affecting you.
Mm. Yeah. It's true. I think about Jesus being on the cross, and even after all they did to him, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
Right.
It's still not being negative. Holes in his hands and his feet. Still asking for forgiveness for others, and it's like, well, wait, what? Who would do that? I mean, truly, would somebody's beating a snot out of you? Would you really